Teri Ijeoma. I am so excited to welcome you to the Move to Millions podcast. How are you today?
I am fantastic today. And I'm saying that because I recently got over a cold and I'm talking to you. Just all the things are working out for our good. I'm so good today.
Awesome. And you look amazing. The people that'll be able to see the video version of this conversation will co sign on that, I am sure. Before we jump in, take just a quick moment and, in your own words, who is Teri Ijeoma?
Teri is a woman of God that has been led by God her whole life and is now serving God through helping people with their financial journey and investing. I am a woman who used to be an educator and also used to be in ministry full time. I was a young adult pastor and a youth pastor and left my job in education, start traveling around the world and was affording it by trading stocks. Little did I know that I'd be back in education because people would start asking me to teach them how to do it. How do you afford to trade, or excuse me, afford to travel using trading? So I started a course, trade and travel, and yeah, I just started teaching people all over the world. So that's who I am.
Awesome. I love all of that. And especially because I say the same thing all the time. I think if teachers made more money, I probably would have studied education right out of the gate, right? But they just don't make enough money for me. Which is sad, by the way. Like I'm
Right.
not excited about that, but I always wanted to be a teacher. I love being able to teach, and it's a skill set that not everyone has. And
Yeah.
so for those of us who have the skill set and are able to teach something that is really life transformational. And I love that you're doing this in service to God. That speaks to my heart on so many different levels. A fellow God girl. And so just being able to watch you do what it is that you do, it it inspires me to no end. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, Teri. So I'm gonna tell you right now for the whole world to hear. What I love the most about you is how big you think and how big you play. I have a feeling that you don't even think that there's anything big about what you do. It's just because your God is so big. But the way it shows up for other people is it's huge. And you're so, what's the word? The word that's popping in is flippant, and I don't mean that negatively. Like it's not a big deal to you to think as big as you think and to encourage people to play bigger. Like whenever I'm in your space, you just naturally stretch me
Mm.
naturally, and I'm like, how does she do that? Like I'm grateful that you do it. I'm so grateful. That's why I'm like, whenever I can get a moment with you, I'm like, I just want to be in her orbit because I know that being in her orbit is going to make me think bigger. It's going to make me play bigger. And I just want to thank you for that because I don't think everybody can do that. And to be a God girl who does that. And one would think that as a God girl, you should do that. But I know you know, just like I know, there are a lot of God girls out there who are playing small that don't believe in the bigness of God. And so I just honor you for showing up and holding that space for me and the thousands of people that have taken your course and have experienced that bigness energy that you bring to the table. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. You know what? I believe that you're right. I don't realize how big I think until later it's pointed out. Like even with this challenge coming up, the Take Your First Trade challenge, what it came from, at least this year's goal, I want to teach 100,000 people how to invest. To me, I thought that goal wasn't that big because I
Oh my
saw Jamie Kern Lima. She just had
God. Hmm.
259,000 people on her big
Hmm.
event. And then I saw Tony Robbins and Dean Graciosi. They have 1 million people on their events. So to my mind, I'm like, 100,000, maybe that's too small. Maybe I should make it bigger. But then I started thinking, and to the God point of it, the reason that I had 100,000 was because I heard someone say, faith is the substance of things hoped for. That's out of Hebrews, Hebrews
Hmm.
11. But if you're not hoping for anything, you don't have to have faith.
Oh, Terry. Okay, hold on. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. You gotta stop. That is so good. The
Yeah.
way my body is feeling, and like I'm one big ice ball right now. Say that one more time.
Faith is the substance of things hoped for. But if you're not hoping for anything, you don't have faith. And then
Mm.
to go a step further, a little further down in Hebrews, it says, and without faith, it's impossible to please God. So that means that
Right.
without hope, it's impossible to please God. And so for me, I was like, Teri, right now, you're not hoping for anything. So, for example, anything that I wanted, I could go and buy it because now the Lord has
Yeah.
blessed me, so I could just buy it out of my income. Or if I
Mhm.
wanted to do something, okay, well, I just put a plan together and go do it. I got to a point where I wasn't hoping for anything. And God
Mhm.
convicted me like, well, Teri, if you're not hoping for anything, you don't have faith. So then I started putting down, okay, what am I hoping for in my personal life? What am I hoping
Mhm.
for in my professional life? And in my professional life, I said, okay, well, I want to teach some people how to invest. And then I started
Mhm.
thinking through, well, what does that look like in numbers? And I said,
Mhm.
well, maybe I can do, 1,000 people a month. That's 10,000. But then I said, but that doesn't take God. That doesn't take
Yeah.
God-sized faith. I could do
Mm.
that. So then I said, okay, well, let's push it to 100,000 people. I want to teach 100,000 people how to invest. And then at first it was, okay, I want to do 100,000 people in a year. And then it was like, but
Mhm.
that still doesn't take God because I can just work and get that and make it happen. But now I want
Mhm.
to teach 100,000 people how to invest in 5 days.
Yeah.
Now that makes me feel like, okay, God, I can't do that without you. And then I started
Yeah.
visualizing, because even with that, 100,000 still didn't seem big. Then I started visualizing what that meant. And I said,
Mhm.
well, when you talked at InvestFest, it was a stadium full of people, and that was 10,000 people. You're trying to
Mhm.
teach 10 times that stadium. It's bigger than InvestFest. Then I thought about Woman Evolve.
Mhm.
Dr. Sarah, I say Dr. Sarah Jakes, but Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts,
Mhm.
she had 35,000 and it filled a baseball field.
Yeah.
And I said, Teri, you're trying to teach 3 times the size of a baseball field. Now I'm realizing how big it is.
Yeah. But
But to
here's
me,
what I love
it's
about that. I love that, first of all, the hindsight of it and the practicality of it. Because 100,000 to me in 5 days is immediately big. Like when I heard you say that, I literally had to grab my wig from blowing off. Like I'm like, this girl, like I love that about you. And you help me to think bigger just by being you, who has this, your faith is so beautiful, Teri. Like it is pure. It is innocent. It is, I am too dumb to doubt that this could not happen because the word says faith and hope, and I'm just doing what the word says. Like it's so simple and it's so practical and it is so all inspiring at the same time, because you're right. 100,000 in a year, we don't need God for that. You're even having me rethink the goals that I have, even for my live event that's coming up in 2 months. I'm like, Darnyelle, you ain't thinking, you could do that in and of your own strength.
right.
Give
But what
God
takes
something to
God?
bless.
Yes.
Right. Like, are you ready for Move to Millions Live 2024? Well, registration is now open. It is going down May 22nd through the 24th, just outside of Washington, D.C. You have to be there if you have millions on your mind. If you think the book was something, wait until you get into proximity to your next level. The conversations, the clarity, the collaborations, and the community that is going to get you to and beyond the $1 million mark is waiting for you now. Go grab your seat at movetomillionsevent.com. I love that. I don't even know where to go from here. Like I
Let's
just
just
want to
give God
sit in
glory
the
for being such a
significance.
big God.
Girl, I just want to sit in the significance of who God is and how he is showing up in you in this moment for me. And not even to mention all of the other people that are going to be blessed by this conversation and explore the bigness of God. And I loved when you said that doesn't take God. Like, so the question I wrote down is, what is the goal that takes God?
Yes.
Because if it's the goal that just takes Darnyelle and the people on my team, we not only are we not playing big enough, but there's such a margin of error of actually being able to accomplish it. But if I require that God show up fully for the goal. So, and we can break this down. So we can go into when you delight yourself in the Lord, he gives you the desires in your heart. So the desire to do $100,000 was not your original construct. I mean, 100,000 people. It wasn't your original construct. It was God's from the beginning. And then you, in faith and hope, leaned into what God said and began to activate that thing to give God something to bless. So
Wow.
what I know that I don't even know that you know that I know, but I know that for this challenge, because I'm a speaker, thank you, by the way, for offering
Of
me the
course.
opportunity to be on your platform. I am so honored. I know you have 153 people who are all out here championing this challenge along with you. And even when I did the math, I was like, okay, 100,000 by 100. That's like everybody getting like 7,000 people is 100,000. Like it's not even not doable.
Right?
And
That's
what I
what I
love about
said.
this,
I'm like, it's not
right?
that big.
It's not that big, but it is so big. And
Yes.
I think that the way that we take the bigness of God and break it down so that our fear doesn't keep us from playing is we find a way to bite size it. So it starts out as this big arduous thing, right? And then we break it down into little pieces. We back into it and we realize that with God's strength, with because he still have to get you the connections to the people that are going to show up fully on behalf of this for you in order to produce the result, right? So there is still a role that God gets to play after placing that first thought in you that there needs to be at minimum 100,000 people in 5 days.
And you know what I'm excited for? I'm excited for God to show up in ways that I didn't even think of myself. So, for example, I've been able to think of, okay, if I have these 10 people and they bring in 10,000 people each, then that gets us to 100,000. And each of them, and to me, I'm like, well, each of them has 700,000, a million people in their
Mm-hmm.
audience. It will definitely happen. But now, 3 weeks till the event, I'm getting a little nervous. Like, well, maybe, Lord, should I decrease the amount because I haven't seen it come in yet? And God's like, no, no, no. Like, watch me work.
Yeah.
Allow me to get the glory. So now
Oh,
every
girl.
prayer is, okay, God, I want you, like I want you to get the glory. Get glory for yourself in this. Whatever you do, I want to just see your glory. I'm stepping to the side because God, this is now your event for your glory. Raise
Yeah.
Lazarus, Lord, because it's
Mm.
for your glory. Part the sea because it's for your glory. Let the
Yes.
rocks cry out because it's for your glory. Bring the
Yes.
people because it's for your glory.
I
Period.
I I mean, I love all of it. I'm still one big ice cube. Like I'm just the biggest chill possible because I see it. I see it and you know you have to see it so that you get to see it so that you get to experience it. And what I hear and I want to pull out for our listeners is the spirit of surrender and the significance of surrender. So you caught the vision, you did the work to plan out the vision, you gave God something to bless, and then you have to take your hands off of it so that he can get his glory because he is in it for the won't he do it. Like that's the whole thing. And the amount of people who will be led to seek him for themselves because you endeavored to teach them how to invest in the stock market. So something that is unrelated to, but fully related to how God sees us and how he wants us to have money, right? We know 2,300 times in the Bible, God talks about wealth, money, and possessions. We are not to be absent from access to wealth. That is our birthright. That is the reason that Jesus came and endured so that we might experience wealth and abundance. And you have found a way, and we're going to get into your story in a minute about how you learned to trade and what you are, how you are doing in days, like all of that. We'll get into that in a second. This literally is a manifestation of what it is that God desires for us. That's what I feel in my spirit. And that's why I can see it. And I hear 1 Corinthians 2:9. Your eyes have not seen, your ears have not heard, neither Has it entered into your mind? Yes, you said 100. I think I believe there will be more. I believe exceeding and abundance above all you could ever ask, think, or imagine, right? The highest form of value is imagination. And you have already imagined that thing all the way out. I remember the little diagram you drew of how we get to the 100,000, right? I remember you imagined that thing. And now you are you are removing yourself from it so that God can do it. And I just, those of you who are listening, I just hope that you are taking copious notes on the steps between the steps of what we're talking about, that you will be able to bear witness to in just 3 weeks from the date of this interview airing. Like, you're gonna be able to, I hope you should be there. We're gonna put all the links in the show notes. You'll hear the commercials throughout this episode because you need to be there. Even if you have a financial advisor or a financial planner that has a portfolio that they are managing for you, you need the skill for yourself.
Yes.
And this is the opportunity that is going to be afforded to you for such a nominal investment. The possible return on that investment is ridiculous. So Teri, so you're in the school system, and walk us through, like, you start to get burnout, frustrated. Like, what led you to day trading? Like, tell us everything. Like, how did it
Yeah.
start?
Well, and before we go there, I do want to just circle back real quick to how I feel in this season, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's something that people don't talk about either. Like, you make these big, huge, God-sized goals. You're relying on the Lord. I feel terrified, to be
That's
completely
good
honest
though.
with you. And it's one of those things of like, Lord, I daily I have to kill my flesh and surrender to you, God, because in my flesh, I'm scared that this won't happen. In my flesh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like, man, like, should I lower the goal? In my flesh, I'm thinking, dang, people haven't started, advertising yet. Will this happen? But then in my mind, I know from the comfort of the Holy Spirit, God's got this. So
Mm-hmm.
Teri, shut up, let that go. God's got this. You do
Yeah.
the things that you can do, but then God's got this. And then I think to myself, well, what if 100,000 people don't show up? You also don't know why God is having you go for this goal, because
Right.
there might be one person in this audience that shows up in a way that you would never have imagined. There might be a different kind of setup. We never know what God actually has us go for goals for and
Right.
what he will actually present. But
Mm-hmm.
he just told us to be obedient. So it's like, okay, be obedient, do what the Lord has asked you to do, and then we
Yeah.
will see what God, and I agree with you, and surrender and accept. Lord, there will be more than 100,000.
Yeah. It's it's
Oh,
it's already done. It's so already done. Like, it's just, there is no doubt in my mind. Not one doubt. And so if I need to hold that space for you while you in your humanness are terrified, I will happily do that.
yeah.
Because I'm not terrified. Like, I'm fully convinced in my own mind
Right.
that this is what it is. Yeah.
And it is true. When you get with your sisters and they're like, actually, don't forget who God is. And it's like, okay, never mind. The fear has
Right.
gone away. But there is a stretching, which I actually am enjoying in this moment, because I haven't
Mhm.
I haven't been hoping. I told you before, I hadn't been hoping for
Yeah.
anything. So now, like, to be reintroduced to this hope again, it's kind of like, oh, this is what it feels like to hope for something
Yeah.
bigger than yourself, to have
Hmm.
to rely on the Lord in a different kind of way. I haven't had that in a while. This is what that feels like, to go to that next level and not to be comfortable at your level.
Yeah.
But then you asked me about like how we got here.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
Um,
want to back into the story for everyone. They're going to come and they're going to participate in the challenge, but let's give them a little
yeah.
backstory.
So how we got here, I actually was in education for 10 years, and my last job in education was assistant principal of an elementary school. But y'all, I was literally going to work and crying in the bathroom every day.
Mm.
I, me and the other assistant principal, by the way, we took turns crying in the bathroom. Like, I would see her come out with red puffy eyes, and then I would take my turn in there. And it was all kinds of toxic craziness. It was the walls in the school were super thin. So I actually heard them one time. talking about me in a negative way. You know, like you hear stuff and you're like, that's not even true. Why could he even say that? But I'm
Yeah.
hearing that the administration giving us crazy goals that we couldn't meet, dealing with kids and families. This one kid literally almost threw like hit my head with a stapler. He hit another kid, and then they told him come sit in my office, but you can't actually say anything because then you go to the parent, and I got in trouble because I told the parent you should. Yeah, I didn't say it like this, but I said something to the effect of, "Get your child." She was
Yeah.
yelling at us, came in here yelling because we wanted to have the kids sit out today. She yelling at us. Your kid just threw a stapler at another kid's head, but we the ones in trouble. I told her about herself, and of course, I got written up. But anyway, I digress. I left the school and started traveling, and I was affording it from trading stocks. Now, you might ask, how did I learn about trading stocks? I learned in high school how to trade or about the
Okay.
stock market. I went to the Chicago Stock Exchange. And then in college, I went to MIT and I interned at Morgan Stanley. So I had been around stocks and money for a little while, but I didn't start trading for myself until 2010 when there was a housing crash and the stock market crashed. So about 14 years ago, I started trading, but I was just doing it for fun and as a hobby and a side hustle. So when I did leave the school, because stapler, kids, I'm getting written up.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
could
The
start
writing was
affording
on the
my
wall.
own. I could afford my lifestyle. And then people started asking me to teach them.
Nice. And now I know, well, let me ask you this way. What is the most that you have made in a day? Are you ready for Move to Millions Live 2024? Well, registration is now open. It is going down May 22nd through the 24th, just outside of Washington, D.C. You have to be there if you have millions on your mind. If you think the book was something, wait until you get into proximity to your next level. The conversations, the clarity, the collaborations, and the community that is going to get you to and beyond the $1 million mark is waiting for you now. Go grab your seat at movetomillionsevent.com. Trading.
I've made over $1 million, so like $1.4 million. And it actually was 1.8, but I took profit a little bit and then took some more profit
Okay.
another day. So yeah, like $1.8 million in a day. That one was trading Amazon. Since then,
Nice.
I've done some other ones, mainly Amazon, but I'm most proud right now of a trade I'm doing in Disney for my foundation, the Teri Foundation. We just went over 1 million right now, and we'll be able to do that in ministry or use that money in ministry.
Nice. Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love it so much for a myriad of reasons, right? There's a lot of people who, in our community, Move to Millions, their goal is to get to the $1 million mark in a year. And so the belief barrier that we just broke, you saying $1.8 million in a day, right? I love the principle of learning how to collapse time. And that's why I'm so excited about the challenge. I'm participating. I've got a whole portfolio. We have done really well. I have Amazon, I have Microsoft. I became a millionaire trading Microsoft back in the day. Um, but I don't do it for myself. I have, my brother manages my stock portfolio. And so I'm signing up myself. I know I'm a speaker and I probably even get a free seat, but I'm still signing up because I'm sewing into what I believe. And
Yes.
so I'm signing up. I told all my team I want them to all go. I'm paying for them to participate in the challenge because I want them to learn too. And we're going to learn how to take our first trade on our own to be able to get some because I can money, some retirement money, some vacation and Bali money, whatever kind of money we want. We're going to learn how to get it because I think it's such an important skill to be able to have to know how to make money move whenever you desire it to move, right? And
Yes.
so
And
go ahead.
oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the
It's okay.
S&P 500 went up 24% last year. And a lot of us missed it. Like it's tax time right now, and we're looking at our documents, and our interest in return was $14, something small. And it wasn't 24%. So even in this 5 days, we're going to teach you how to invest in that S&P 500 or the overall indexes. And
Mm-hmm.
that way, even at a basis, you'll start making some good return. And then we can keep going to the stocks and doing it
Mm-hmm.
even deeper. But you got to start somewhere. I agree
Yeah.
with you.
I mean, I just think it's important. Like I think about, being God girls and understanding that we are to experience wealth. And there's more than one way, right? And what I love about understanding the stock market and being able to trade is that you get out of what most of us grew up believing, that your money comes from your effort, that you
Yes.
have to work hard in order to earn. And I believe that this turns that theory on its head, because it's not really hard work that's involved. You know what I mean? It's an entirely different skill set that you're exercising that can produce wealth, which shifts that paradigm and stops you from thinking that you have to exchange effort for money.
That was one of my students. That was the blessing that he taught me. His hourly
Mm-hmm.
wage, he worked at UPS, was $10 an hour. And he would have to
Mm-hmm.
go and lift these heavy boxes and load the trucks. And he told me, Terry, every time I trade, he wasn't trading with a big account, but every time he traded, every time he made $10, that was an hour that he didn't have to work on the truck. And he was doing like
Wow.
a lot of hours of overtime. So just if
Mm-hmm.
he could make $50, that meant a day where he didn't have to do overtime on the truck. He could go home to his son. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we start thinking about it, that like we literally are trading time for money, or what do we, yeah, time for money or money for time.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
we're allowing ourselves to have more time and freedom by learning a way to generate more income with our income.
Yeah. And I know for you, it was important that you be able to get out and see the world.
Girl, honestly, the biggest thing, it was important for me not to have a boss.
Mm.
That literally it part of it was seeing the world, but part of it was not having the anxiety of looking at my email each day and wondering what's she going to say now, or what is he
Mm.
going to say now, or what is
Yeah.
the one thing that I didn't do out of the 10 things that I did right, what's the one thing I did wrong that they're going to harp on today. that was
Mm.
that was step one, having peace of mind.
Yeah.
Then step two was, yes, I was afraid to pass away and not see the world. That
Mm-hmm.
actually has been some of the biggest joy in my life, has been able to see the world. And I could
Which,
afford it by trading stocks.
yeah. And which place has blown your mind the most so
So
far?
I
Because
love
I know you're not done, but
I'm not
so
done.
far.
I'm not done. One of my favorite cities is Dubai. I just love the futuristicness of it.
Me
Like
too. Yeah.
I guess they're on that dream big, and I'm on a dream big level. So they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you can have robots bringing you everything. Okay, let's do that. We're gonna be the
Mm-hmm.
first.
Yeah.
But I also really love Tel Aviv. It was my
Mm.
favorite place. It
Okay.
surprised me. It was a mix to me of like Miami and Chicago because it was on the
Mm.
water. It had high
Mm.
rises. It's in Israel though, so I'm thinking
Mhm.
that I'm gonna see Jesus walking and old
Right.
stuff,
Right.
and
Or at
it's
least
got
his
high
cousin, like
rises.
somebody. Yeah.
But everything was so fresh. Like I could tell why the Lord loves Israel because everything was so fresh.
Mm-hmm.
The produce, and it was beautiful. The people were nice. Like it was a good place. I just really
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it.
Nice. And where are you going next?
Next, I got to get to India. I haven't been to
Okay.
India yet, so I would love to go there. I went to
Mm-hmm.
Zanzibar for the first time, so I've been back to Africa. My dad and I want to do a trip. Like I have 10 brothers and sisters on my dad's side.
I
So we
didn't
would,
know that.
mm-hmm. Yep, whole bunch, my daddy, whole bunch of Ijeomas running around.
Okay.
But you know what? He got that from his dad because my grandfather had 43 kids, 8 wives, 43 kids.
Oh my Jesus. Wow.
Girl, my uncles and aunts are my age and younger. I'm like, why, grandfather, why? But anyway, yeah, we were trying to plan a daddy-daughter trip.
Oh,
So
nice.
next place will be wherever I'll say my daughters, my sisters want to go, and my dad.
Okay.
So that'll be the next
Okay.
place too.
Nice. I love it. When you think about people who haven't traded yet, what would you say are some of the biggest reasons why they haven't even started looking at the stock market as an option?
A lot of people feel like it's going to be too hard. So
Mm-hmm.
they just don't even start because they think that it's for someone who's smarter than them or knows more math, and they just think it's going to be hard. But
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it's pressing a couple buttons, and with the indexes, like the overall S&P 500, those usually average like 8 to 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So pressing a button and investing in the S&P 500 takes you 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
or 5 days for us because we're going to walk you through all the steps. You need some knowledge first, but the actual act of
Right.
it doesn't take a long time. And then that's something that you can either decide to keep for a long time, or you can use it for income like I do. And if it
Mm-hmm.
goes up, we may take a little profit, use it for something. But I
Gotcha.
think that's one. They think it's too hard. Another
Mm-hmm.
reason they think that they don't have enough money, like, oh, but that's for the people that have a lot of money. You can actually get started with $500, so that's not true. Honestly, you
Mm-hmm.
can get started with less, but I think 500 for me is the lowest. If you're actively trading, I say 2000 is a good
Mm-hmm.
spot to invest. Then we have to say people think it's a gamble. Oh, but
Mm-hmm.
that's gambling. It's too risky. I don't want to lose everything. Yes, any investment you have the ability to lose, but I do
Mm-hmm.
think there's some ways to put in some protection. So, not even I think there are ways to put in some protection, do risk management. Like there's orders that you can put in that if the stock comes down, it'll get you out of the trade. Those kind of
Mm-hmm.
things. Even thinking about how many shares you invest. If you have
Mm-hmm.
10 shares, then you can only lose a certain amount, right? Like you can
Yeah.
there's ways to calculate it. You
Yeah, absolutely.
those are some of the things. So those are some of the big
Okay.
myths. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That would have been my list if I was thinking about it. I think the biggest one is it's too hard. Like, or maybe another one that we didn't say might be it takes a lot of time.
Yes, yes.
Right.
A lot of people think about time, but there are ways
Yeah.
to invest in things that you can let sit for a little bit longer. And
Okay.
a trade is anything less than a year. So even if you bought
Okay.
something now and let it sit for 6 months or 9 months, you're still an active investor. You're still a trader. People
Okay.
don't
Nice.
understand
Well,
that
I'm
either.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited about all of the people learning how to demystify some of the myths that are keeping them from being able to have this as a powerful way to generate revenue that won't require their efforts.
You
Because
know
I am
what?
all for, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, no. Finish your thought. You said you were all for.
Yeah, I'm all for making money without having to sweat, right? The Bible calls it sweatless victories. I'm all for
Ooh.
that. And
Oh,
so I
yes.
get excited. There's so many people who are operating under or attempting to get to the seven revenue streams. And I do believe that there's something to it. But I think oftentimes the way that they're going about it is all wrong. Like, I don't believe that you should try to have seven active revenue streams all at the same time. You build them one at a time, you get some mastery going so that it starts to work on its own, and then you add the next one. And I see this as being a great way to add the next one, to be able to add it to that portfolio of overall wealth that's coming in at your own level of comfort and experience. I'm excited about everything that we're going to learn over the 5 days so that we can really make an informed decision of how we should get started. So that's going to be good. What were you going to say?
I was in a conversation just recently, and we were talking about Black women and how Black
Mm-hmm.
women are killing the game and they're the cream of the crop. And I think many of us, we've been working on all the baby steps. So we paid off our debt. Maybe we had a student loan and we started paying that off. And now we're at a place where we're starting to have an account with more income in it. And we're
Mm-hmm.
wondering, well, what do we do with it? And up until now, we might have heard like, well, go buy a house or get rental property. That was the way that we were investing, but that actually
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of capital up front.
It
And then
does.
your rent that you collect each month is not that high, so it takes a bit of time to get your money back.
Yeah.
Investing in the stock market, because all of this is still investing, but investing in the stock market is a way to still have access to your cash. So if you
Mm-hmm.
sell something, you can get your cash back faster and it still make money. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's interesting. And then I also think with Black women, a lot of us think that, oh, if we just give our money to a financial advisor, that, oh, well, they got it. Like we, both of us are members of the Bow Collective. And I heard that
Mm-hmm.
a lot from a lot of the ladies, like, oh, well, I gave my money to a financial advisor and they're taking care of it. But then when we go to have conversations with the financial advisor about, well, how is my portfolio doing? We're not educated enough to understand what
Right.
they're
To
talking
know.
about.
Right.
Because then it's like, oh, well, I think they're doing a good job for me. Well, how do you know? Well, they haven't lost anything, but haven't
Right.
lost anything versus the market made 24% is still
Right.
very different conversations. I had a conversation
Absolutely.
with my financial advisor recently, and I told him, you're underperforming. You're making 6% return and the market made 20%. Something is wrong. They actually
Hmm.
looked through their books. They had some paperwork that was done wrong, and they had $60,000 that I was supposed to make that I didn't make because they didn't do the paperwork right.
Oh, wow.
But it's that knowledge that I was able to
The
say something
knowledge.
is off. Even
I
being
think it's
able to just
true.
have that combo.
Yeah, I mean, I say the same thing in business with marketing. We run into clients every single day. They hate marketing. They don't want to market, or they hate sales. They don't want to sell. They just want to hire people to do that for them. And I'm like, sure, but before you hire a person, make sure you understand it. So you
Yes,
can even evaluate, are they getting good results for you? Because you don't want to just take at somebody at face value for what it is that they're doing. That's what I'm excited about. Because yeah, I'm like many of the women you were just describing. I've had a financial advisor since I was 22 years old, right? As soon as I started making money, I started having someone help me to manage it. And I never took the time. I mean, I know some things, but I never took the time to really understand the stock market, which is why I said I'm participating for myself because I want to get my own little account at one of the little things and have my little money I'm trading in addition to what they doing. I mean, I want to do that too. Like I just think that the knowledge is so important. And to be able to have the conversation, you said you're underperforming, and to confidently be able to articulate how you know they're unperforming instead of taking what they say at face value, especially as Black women. I mean, we are the fastest growing segment in the United States in starting businesses and even growing businesses. But the statistics still tell us that approximately that the vast majority of Black woman-owned businesses is generating $24,000 to $28,000 a year. Well, that's a whole problem because who can live on that? Especially when we have 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck, and 92% of people who struggle with financial anxiety. That's not enough money. And if there's a way for us to learn a skill that can increase the amount of change we have, yeah, I'm all for that. I'm so all for it.
me too.
It's,
And the thing is, it's not something that we just talk about, but we've seen it work. Like we've
yes.
seen people who have invested and then been able to use that to, for me, one of my students, she actually is paying for her parents right now.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents, which is, it's so crazy timing that things work out. She had quit her job and retired, but then she had her parents come and stay with her, and both of them got ill at the same time.
Oh, wow.
She's like, Teri, how in the world was I supposed to take care of both of my parents at the same time? She started investing because she had been in my course for a while, and that
Mm-hmm.
money from investing pays for her parents' health care. So it's about being able to have freedom and do things like that
Yeah,
with your money.
that's awesome. That's
Mm-hmm.
so good. That's so good. Well, we already know everybody's going to go and get into the challenge. Again, we'll share all of the details in the show notes so everybody can go and get their seat reserved. And for those of you who register for the challenge through my special link, we have a bonus gift that we're going to give you, which I will let you go figure that out when you go to the page. But I'm excited about it. We're going to keep working on this making money move and really teach you the principles of money so that you no longer ever, ever, ever in your life have to ever again say, I can't afford it or that's too expensive. That you will actually be sitting in the seat of creating whatever you need to do whatever it is you desire, because that is important as women, especially as Black women, equally, especially, but just in general, like we are to experience wealth in every way. That is why we are here, to be abundant, to experience abundance, to move in and around abundance as the beings that we were created to be. Teri, before I let you go, I always like to, number one, I want to give you the floor if there's anything else on your heart and spirit that you would like to share. And then we'll round out our time together with our three Move to Millions wisdoms questions. But before that, you have the floor. Anything that's on your heart you want to share?
I just want to come back to all the people that are crying in the bathroom. That was my big why. I needed a way to get out. And at the time, I felt like, well, I've been in education for 10 years. This is all that I know. I don't have enough money to be able to do something different. But when I started being successful in the stock market, it gave me that ability to breathe a little better. to have options of do I stay or do I leave? Like it just allowed me to be able to actually start making decisions for myself versus out of a have to do this type of way. So that's really who I encourage to show up. Everybody can use the information we're about to bring, but if you have any desire in your life to be able to have more options and opportunity just to make the decisions that you want, that's who I would say should come. And then one other thought is this is definitely a God thing. So for all those people out there that are God girls making millions, pray for us. Pray as all
Mhm.
the speakers are coming. Pray as we encourage people to come. 100,000 people in one space is a big goal, and we know that something is going to try to come against us. So I just ask for your
Mhm.
prayers too. Pray that all things work together for the good of those who love the
Yeah.
Lord, which is what will happen, but pray for us.
Awesome. So good. I can't wait. I cannot wait to hear all of the testimonials on the flip side. The people who did it afraid, who did it without certainty, who did it because they felt an unction in their spirit that they needed to participate because this is a God thing and God will be fully present the entire time. All of that, I just get excited about hearing how, they were able to establish a retirement fund, or they were able to retire their spouse, or they were able to take care of their parents, or they're able to finally take that trip for 3 months around the world. Whatever the reason, gaining this skill set does to create for you more of the life that you desire to live. I know, Teri, you say, people ought to be able to trade and travel, like see the world, get out there and
Do
experience
you?
all of
Yes.
the fullness of God in every possible way. So that really, really excites me. Okay. So before we go, we got 3 wisdom questions. I do this primarily, Teri, because we don't often talk about business related topics, but this is technically a business podcast. We're a business podcast in the spirituality category. Now, try to figure
I love it.
that one out.
Yes.
But I just like to make sure we ground our time together as business women who have amassed an amazing amount of success and help other people to be able to do the same. So, what's the one book that if someone were to call you tomorrow and say, Teri, I need a book. I need a book to read that will help me, ground me, change my situation so I can continue making this money. I can continue being the best version of myself. What is the book that you would point them to?
Move to Millions by Dr. Darnyelle Jerry Herman.
Well, all right then. Listen, it's an amazing book. It'll change their life. It'll change their life.
Yes.
All right. Quote. What's the quote that when you're having a moment, when you are when you're having a moment that just keeps you grounded and reminds you that your God is big and he can do exceeding and abundant above all you could ever ask of, think, or imagine according to that power that's at work within you. What do you quote? What do you speak over yourself?
Right now, it is faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Okay.
Um, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome.
those are
Both
the
both really
and you
good
have not
quotes.
because you ask not. That
Listen, that one right there, right? Listen. And then lastly, is there one tool that you have sworn by as you have built your business to and beyond the $1 million mark? I know you're over 8 figures at this point. What's the tool that you and your team relish, come back to, are constantly checking and using in order to keep your companies moving?
really love the CNBC network. I love the CNBC channel for financial news, and then I also love the CNBC app. That's
Okay.
those two are really important to me.
Nice. I love it. This has been phenomenal. I am so excited about the challenge. Again, I just say thank you. Yeah, I really have no words. When you asked me, I was like, oh my gosh, she thinks well of me. That's what I thought. Like, and especially because I didn't even know the other speakers at that point. So then when I saw who I'm going to be sharing the stage with, I was like,
You should tell
let me
them. You should tell
let
them
me
the world
let me
is
pop my
coming.
little collar because I must be something. So
Yeah.
I'm excited and I'm really really grateful to be in your space and to spend time with you and the other amazing speakers that are going to be there, and just to watch how God shows up and shows out and how we get this money moving on this planet and
Yeah.
shifting generational curses and reversing the things that have been said about us for centuries and just literally watch wealth unfold. Like I'm excited. It's going to be an amazing time. So make sure you get all of the details and get your seat for the Take Your First Trade Challenge with Teri Ijeoma and our special guest speakers, Robert Hartwell, Rachel Rogers, Anthony O'Neill, Tiffany Aliche, and your girl, Dr. Darnyelle Jervey Harmon. It is going to be amazing. And we will see you guys there. Take care.
Thank you so much.